Good evening and welcome to Thursday's January 15, 2026 meeting of the Parks and Community Enrichment Commission. The meeting is now called to order. I will call roll to establish a quorum. Commissioner Langer?
Here.
Commissioner Uribe? Here. Commissioner Robbins?
Present.
Commissioner Laver? Absent. Oh, here?
He
Oh,
jumped the gun.
thank you.
Here.
I moved too fast, apologies. Commissioner King?
Here.
Commissioner Vasquez? Absent. Commissioner Flores?
Here.
Vice Chair Boone? Absent. Chair Gaines? Absent. Okay. Due to, we have established a quorum. Due to Vice Chair and the Chair being absent, we are going to elect a temporary chair to proceed over this meeting per Council Rules Procedure, Chapter 8A5. Is there a motion?
There's a motion. I motion that Joe Flores run the commission. He's the most experienced chair, and I think in Parks history, so we continue on that tradition tonight.
I'll second that. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Okay, all those in favor, say aye. Oh, sorry, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstains? Okay, motion passes. We will take just a minute for Joe to get established, and then we will start the meeting. Oops. And I apologize, I wrote on this. Here's where you start, and then there's a section here where it'll just reference you to just go to the agenda.
Okay, thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to 2026, our January Parks and Community Enrichment Commission. Thank you, everybody, for nominating me to help lead tonight's meeting in absence of our chair and vice chair. Part of it is our vice chair celebrated the birth of her daughter, so we would love to recognize that. That's why she's not here. She is enjoying being a mother, and because normally we meet on the first Thursday of the month, today is the second Thursday of the month, so with a little bit of calendar considerations, our chair couldn't be here tonight. So it is a big seat to fill with Janine, so thank you very much for fellow commissioners for letting me run this tonight. And I know later on in the agenda, we are also picking a new vice chair and chair. So with that, so I just want to say, acknowledge that, thank you. Going to the script, and then I also will ask the clerk's office to give me some grace, as I am not normally the one who runs said meeting, but I am gonna try my best not to look foolish up here. I would like to remind the members of the public in the chambers that if you would like to speak on an agenda item, please turn in a speaker slip before the item begins. After the item is called, we will no longer accept speaker slips. You will have 2 minutes to speak once you're called on. Now we'll proceed with tonight's agenda. We're going to do the land acknowledgement and the Pledge of Allegiance, so if we can all stand for those. And please rise if you're able to. To the original people of this land, the Nisenan people, the Southern Maidu, Valley and Plains Miwok, Patuan Wintun peoples, and the peoples of Wilton Rancheria, Sacramento only federally recognized tribe. May we acknowledge and honor the Native people who came before us and still walk beside us today and on these ancestral lands by choosing to gather together today in active practice of acknowledgement and appreciation for Sacramento's indigenous people's history, contribution, and lives. Thank you. Now let's go to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance All right, thank you very much. Now we'll go to the approval of the consent calendar. Clerk's office, are there any members of the public who wish to speak on this consent calendar item?
Thank you. We have no speakers on this item.
All right, do we have any commissioners who would like to speak on this item? Seeing none on the board. Seeing none on the board, let me see, script. Is there a motion or a second for this consent item, for this consent calendar item?
I motion.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Uribe, seconded by Commissioner King. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, the motion passes unanimously. All right. Now we will go to the discussion calendar. Consent and discussion calendar. We will go right to item number 4, Review Volunteer Recognition Award Program. Do we have a staff member who would like to present on this item?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Good evening, Commissioners. This evening, we will review, or you will review, the Volunteer Recognition Award Program. The recommendation will be to review the current Volunteer Recognition Award Program, pass a motion providing direction on any suggested revisions to the Volunteer Recognition Program. A brief overview. On April 5th, 2018, the Park and Recreation Commission passed a motion to create and appoint an ad hoc to develop a volunteer recognition program. The purpose of the ad hoc was to create guidelines and methods to formally recognize individuals and organizations that volunteer time and resources which benefit the Youth Parks and Community Enrichment Department. The ad hoc committee developed nomination categories and processes. The nominations of each individual and groups, organizations, and businesses to be recognized by the Park and Rec Commission shall be initiated by the community via nomination forms. The reason for the nominations of individuals or organizations shall be reviewed by the Park Commissioner and Council District based on the location of the park program or residence or location of the person organized to be nominated. The nominations that are received for recognition by the commissioners shall be reviewed quarterly by the following categories: youth, parks, and community enrichment. The Park and Recreation Commission will review nominations forwarded by a commissioner for approval and to set the date for the recognition ceremony. The nominations will receive a volunteer recognition certificate from the commission. Over the years, and with COVID, we had pivoted from the quarterly nominations, which the youth category award would have been in March. The category for parks award would be in June. Community enrichment was September, and an EIPC overall would have been in November. Due to just the lack of participation from the volunteer nominations, and with COVID during the time, we went to an annual nomination, and in which we recognized all of the categories at one time, and then also had the end of year celebration. And so that's kind of how we pivoted from the original setup of this program. And so this evening, we would like the commission to discuss potential recommended changes or additions to this. Another item that might want to be taken into consideration is our volunteer award ceremony. We usually host it at the end of the year. We will not have a December meeting. However, we are really focused to be efficient on hosting an end of the year celebration, but also tie in 9/16 Day for your recommendation to review possibly having the recognition award and 9/16 Day in December. So with that, that is a brief overview. I will pass it over to the chair.
Thank you, Shannon, for that. Because this item is to make a recommendation to move forward on this volunteer recognition. So now the floor is open for commissioners to discuss items. So we can have this crosstalk with each other to discuss how to improve or make suggestions to make it efficient. It's a fluid item, so I know I have thoughts, but I can go last. I do see Commissioner Robbins up next.
Yes, I just gotta thank Park staff before anything, because this award, I gotta thank Chair Flores right now, and Vice Chair David Guerrero many moons ago created this award as a thank you to the community. And I was the inaugural winner, so I always gotta say that out there, how special this award is to me, and then now I'm sitting in the seat nominating and handing out the awards, very special to me. So thank you guys for, recognizing the little guy that fights the good fight. So that's the first thing I say, but I gotta forward comments from Commissioner Vasquez, since she cannot be here today and be up to discussion, maybe a little bit to go on the follow-up log. She would like to have the ability to nominate volunteers at any time throughout the year so they can present them with a little more time and dignity at the beginning of the meetings, and special presentations instead of agenda items should be at the front of the meeting. Also, the webpage has not been updated for a long time. Would like the photos and stories of the previous winners is what she recommends. And possibly added to the Come Out and Play magazines. And so that's just up for discussion. Since she's not here, I just wanted to forward that out there. But I do agree with moving up the award to the start of the meeting instead of having everyone, and we're rushing through the agenda items through the meetings, and we're kind of staring at like a full crowd of a Golden One Center sellout. That's really what it feels like to me, honestly. And it's like we're rushing through the agenda. So that's one thing I really agree on. But just wanted to put on the record that since she cannot be here, those are her words. But once again, thank you, staff, for everything that you guys do and recognizing the little guy.
Thank you, Commissioner Robbins. Next up, Commissioner King.
Sure, thank you, Chair. I appreciate submitting all of our volunteer recommendations on the same month, right? So like you gather them all at once, but December's hard for at least me to attend and participate in that meeting just because of the holidays and different travel things. But I think it might also be hard for others to participate in that meeting as well. So my recommendation would be to maybe collect volunteer suggestions at one time, maybe in December or before the end of the year, and then distribute them over the course of the next year. So maybe one or two get invited to each meeting. That way they do have more time. We can be very respectful of the volunteers and really highlight and showcase them. But we already have the recommendations kind of on file, and I just think it would make it easier. It's too much to collect it in a roving agenda. I mean, we can always submit them, but I think having a deadline really helps me at least be like, okay, be really thoughtful about communicating with my council member, finding out who they want to nominate, and then also writing everything and getting that submitted to you. But then I think a roving presentation might be very appropriate. That's just one recommendation.
Thank you, Commissioner King. Up next, Commissioner Uribe.
I have questions. You mentioned that the awards, there's like three. I guess I've always been kind of confused on the categories of the awards, and they seem pretty vague. It's partly is one question, whether they are that vague, and my recommendation being if we can get really specific with the type of awards, because early on when it was, hey, nominate a volunteer, and it's like volunteer who cleans up parks, volunteer in the community, and we have a lot of wonderful people in the community who do a lot of good work, but is it specific to the Parks and Rec Commission, and is it to, planting trees and whatnot? So I think that's my question.
Yes, great question. In the report documents, when, in 2018, they created nomination guidelines of how it works, who's eligible, how nominations should be reviewed, and how to submit. So we could take another look at that, but the categories, youth would be, a youth that is making an impact, whether it's in a program or within a park or a school program. Parks would be, volunteers that are directly, impacting, positive benefit within a park. Community enrichment could be programs from our after-school programs, our community centers, items like that. And then YPSI would be just an overall, capture of, who's doing, great work, probably covering all these. But what we could certainly do is provide more detail, more definition for each of these categories in the updated nomination process form.
Okay, and then you said that we kind of kick it to the end of the year because of the number of nominations that we got early on in the year, and is that kind of what ended up being that shift, or was it just a time?
Well, the other thing is just to be aware of time for the commission, and if we have this on the agenda, it takes 2 reports for each nomination, and that's, about 2 to 3 hours of staff work, not including the clerks and attorneys' time for review. And, throughout the year, we do have a lot of agenda items, so we wanted to be aware of that. And with, COVID and everything that happened, it evolved into more of an annual, once-a-year recommendation and report.
Okay, yeah, I love any recommendation the commissions have. So I did a little bit of a Google search. This is my research I'm a little bit embarrassed about. But I discovered that there's the California Parks and Recreation Society. My recommendation, if we were to move to anything changing, is that if they somehow align with, there's a lot of awards that society gives out. And again, this was just my simple Google search, so I don't know if it's a scam yet, but they're located here in Sacramento. So I don't think they are. The city of Roseville won, and some of them were specific to parks planning, and we have some great planners in Sacramento. But a lot of them were also community driven, so there were youth ones and whatnot. And it'd be really interesting if somehow we can look at our nominating process and that of that societies and try to line them up so we can make sure that not only are we nominating wonderful people in the city of Sacramento who are doing a great job, but also elevating them to this award for the California level. So
We are, we're very aware of the California Park and
Sweet.
Recreation
I bet.
Society. Probably most of us are.
I was like, Anthony, you just discovered this right now. I was like, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, my Google search.
The department, a lot of our staff members participate or have been active members. We, Camp Sacramento has been awarded various programs and several of our volunteer programs as well. So again, we can take a look at that, but that's, will be the motion or the direction from the commission for us.
Of course.
Yeah,
Thank you
thanks.
for listening.
And Commissioner Uribe, in the spirit of crosstalk with each other, because this is what the item is asking for, I know I can speak to some of the staff report attached to this item. I wrote, right, when I was chair back in 2018. So I can speak to the historics of how this was created. And just at the high level, the reason why there was 4 different categories at the time, because in 2018, the department had a name change. So it was really fresh in everybody's mind. And at first, YPSI was very hard for everyone to say out loud. Everyone just said Parks and Rec. So it just took forever for YPSI to be now just common nomenclature, right? So in that context, we were saying, hey, let's award folks out in the communities, since we're all, most of us are district appointed, those who provide service or volunteers in parks, as in the green space of parks. Because youth became the first letter in YPSI in the then new department name, there was an emphasis, intentionality to highlight youth, and it still is, right? That's why this commission also is one of the 3 commissions that has a youth seat, right? So any good youth that is going above and beyond, and that goes to schools and stuff like that. So it's like just an outstanding youth. Let's recognize them in general. Who may be volunteering in their school, and some of these schools are co-located with parks, right? So that it was just, that was the criteria then. Community enrichment, we know what the department defines community enrichment, and that is the community centers and all the other great aspects that this department provides. And so it was just in recognition that this department is so vast and multifaceted. So any organizations that, are volunteers in the community center space, and let's recognize them, right? So that was the intention. So there was no real criteria as in they did 5 hours of volunteer. No, it was like, hey, amongst our council members, I'll speak to the council member part of it, not the at-larges, is like, hey, they're doing a great job, they should recognize it. And then in creating the ad hoc, we worked with the city attorney's office because we're supposed to promote volunteerism. So if we recognize volunteerism, that was the legal policy item to create the ad hoc at that time. I know because it's 2026 now, to create an ad hoc, there's all these different criteria, but back then, that was in the definition of our powers and duties to promote volunteerism. I was like, how do you promote volunteerism? If we recognize volunteers, and then we take that big group picture, and then we all blast it across our socials, that promotes volunteerism. So that was the mechanism to create said ad hoc even in the beginning. So I know I'm speaking to historics, and I'm literally sitting in the same chair where this got codified, but like how Shannon and the department and all of us went through, the world did change, right? So things ebbs and flows. I'm lucky enough to sit here and have seen the ebbs and the peaks and the valleys of this department. And some years have been great years where there's staff time, bandwidth capacity, and other years where we're all Zooming, right? And then now it's been about 2-3 years since Zooms, now we're dealing with budgets, right? 2026 is we already know it's not the best outlook. So we have to be considerate to time, bandwidth, and capacities. When we have coffee chats with each other, we always say, hey, when these items come up, like these master plans of these communities, it's always a fluid document, right? And so, yes, what I wrote in 2018, I'm not bounded by it because I know the world changed. We have to, what are the stressors or what are the mechanisms in 2026 that we have to recognize? So, in that spirit, that's how it was framed, but how can we be mindful of, going forward? And like I said, staff capacity and time, what makes sense, what's efficient, how can we get our bang for the buck, and recognize volunteers. And I'll lastly say before I give up the mic, I see what city council does on Tuesday nights, right? They do start the meeting off and recognize. We just had the recognition of Ken retirement at the top of the meeting, and people come in, regardless of a long agenda, that thing does go first, so you can get your photo up and recognize the great service of over 30 years of park service. So I was like, man, I would love to do that on a Thursday night. So that was another reason why this volunteer recognition was for folks to come to City Hall in a positive way on a Thursday night, get recognized, Robbie being the first one to be formally recognized, and then look where it's kind of evolved to. So it was just seeing what City Council does. It's like, hey, we're a commission, we can kind of do that too. So those were the building blocks. I would love to see this continue. I don't care how it continues, as long as we, at the end of the day, we're recognizing community. We get that big photo op, because to me, I understand the fluidity of, have a couple here and there throughout, but that may not be the most appropriate use of limited staff time. But if we did get them all at once, and there's 50, like how we just saw in December, and if we change December to a different month, as long as I personally get that big group photo, because we heard the comments that night, right? Like, oh my God, I didn't know you did that in the North. Oh my God, I didn't know you did that in the South. We're doing the same things. Right, let's now work together. We heard the chatter outside after the cameras turned off. So, so in that vein, the spirit of creating this volunteer recognition item in the first place I'm so happy it's still going. So those are my thoughts. Like I said, this is a crosstalk conversation, so I just wanted to answer your questions of, why some of these categories. It wasn't never really heavily defined, other than at the time, the department had 3 different categories, and so let's recognize them. And the 4th quarter would have been the catch-all, right? Like just anybody who does all 3 of these things, that filled the 4th. So at the time, it made perfect sense. Right now, how can we be more efficient? So I've been talking a lot. I think Commissioner King, I think you might be next.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. Oh, Chair, excuse me.
It's okay.
Shannon, could you tell us a little bit more about the staffing time required in order to get the volunteers, if we were to do it like on a roving basis? So at the beginning of a staff or a commission meeting versus that like once once 1 month of the year, whether that's December or another month. Can you talk about the changes or the differences in those?
Sure. What would happen is the volunteers that are nominated would have to come as a report that the commission would, support and vote on. We approve the nominations going forward. So that would be one report. And then we would have to prepare another report to award the nominations for the commission. And even before that, it is making sure that the nominations come in and that we allow time for you to vet them with your council member, which sometimes can, take a little bit of coordination. So within that, that's why I would say it probably takes about 2 to 3 hours for each report to, be prepared, and just, the back work with, making sure the nominations are filled out correctly, and that, you have time to review that, and if there's any, changes or additions, we get in there. And then it's probably another hour for the clerk's office, the attorney to review those reports and go in. So it's about, for our staff time, 8 reports, about 16 hours of work for each nomination that would come in. And so for the once a year, it's 2 reports instead of, if we stay with the 4, or if we do one every month, and that, it still requires 2 reports to be submitted.
Okay. So I would recommend just moving the month from December to a different month. I would recommend moving the report from December to another month. Do we have any suggestions on a different month? Maybe not January either. The recommendation in the beginning was to consider September as that date, because we also have 9/16 Day that we want to celebrate, and we're going to be, Deanna will be speaking, she'll be speaking about it in February, but last year's discussion was around the goals of the commission. Instead of having one event for 9/16, that we're gonna do, celebrate 9/16 year-round with all of the volunteer events. And then in September, host one celebration for all the efforts year-round, 9/16 volunteer, and just kind of have that as one. So just wanted to have that for your awareness. Okay, that's great, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner King. Again, there's no motion on the floor just yet, because we're going to spitball ideas to create a motion. And I know a lot of us on our private lives, we are in public service. And so how do we can workshop a good motion for staff to follow. So before we do that official mechanism, I want to, before we finalize this conversation, to come up with the bullet points. So far, I've heard a recommendation in changing of the month from December to a different month, possibly September. I heard Commissioner Uribe, maybe how we can better define some of these nomination categories. And then I know maybe that it's a question to you, Shannon, and/or Director Beecham, is I know when you plan, from previous experience, when you plan out the calendar for the year, there's items that hit certain calendars. And so if we did it on a rolling basis, how could that collapse some of those calendar considerations? And then I'm sure that here at the city of Sacramento, there's timing considerations of when to prepare a document. And so maybe you all can speak to that just a little bit of, even just the logistical backdating of even just creating a staff report if it was on a rolling basis. So that if we explore this thread, like what does that kind of look like?
So what I would go back to is how the original nominations were set up. So for each quarter, like take youth, for example, the nomination period would have been December or October through December is when the nomination period would be, and the award would be in March. And so we need 30 days for processing the reports to get in the queue for March. So that's why the review period would end in February. We would have to submit all of our reports in February for the award, which the next report would be in March. So, it would just take and you might be able to limit the nomination period to 30 days. And then we could have a little bit more time for the reports. But if we wanted to stay with a quarterly, probably how the nomination is set up for the calendar year it could be something we could work around. But we're also flexible. The calendar is flexible, and if we wanted, if there was just 1 month that we have a lot of people that we'd like to recognize, it's really up to the commission.
I saw your hand raised, so, okay. Do I have any commissioner comments and questions? I know I have a couple more before we move it to a different, no. I did, thank you, Commissioner Robbins, for reporting out Commissioner Vasquez's points. Some of them that I heard, so, if, correct me if I'm wrong, was some sort of way to, on the YPSI portion of the website, to highlight these folks, or in a publication like Come Out and Play that comes out every quarter. What, spitballing here, what would be the process of that, and in consideration of time, bandwidth, resources, spitballing, how would that process, if we explored that, or what would it take to do so?
Yeah, good question. We just had the 2025 nominations, and I think we have a wonderful media team, and we have a very active social media pages, Facebook and Instagram, that I think with that resource, we could, potentially put something out pretty quick. We could also take a look at the Come Out and Play and identify those nominations as well, but I think the bigger impact would be to get these names on the social media page and, celebrate them that way. But we also have a newsletter that goes out. We can also look at adding the names onto that newsletter as well.
Okay. And that wouldn't necessarily take up too much resources if these, assuming that these, like how we just had in December, if we, in the nomination form even, hey, what is your handles, or some of that extra vetting process, so maybe that goes into, maybe the form itself can be up, we can make a recommendation to update the nomination form to include some of those social handles, so some of that pre-work is done.
Great suggestion.
Okay.
Yes, I think so. And with the original, it is a handwritten, but it's electronically submitted, so that is a wonderful recommendation that we can add.
Like I said, with the public service mind, right? We only have finite resources, but how can a lot of this stuff be front loaded as well,
Yes.
right? And then there's always the question of vetting. I mean, if we're, again, I work with a district that I submit it to the office and I get the okay there, and then it comes to YPSI, right? Like, so
Yes.
there's some sort of vetting, but once it is vetted and sent to YPSI, the nomination form to capture as much data in that sense for those add-ons and what are they called? Value adds, excuse me. So,
Yes.
Commissioner King.
I think social media has become a very powerful tool for a lot of these organizations, and so I think it's a great idea. I don't necessarily think that it needs to go on a website or be like written anywhere in the newsletter necessarily, as long as it's on social media. And so as long as there's a public forum in which these groups can say, hey, look at this, and they can share it with their followers, they can share it with their groups, I think that's a very powerful message. And it's kind of like an awesome brag, right? You got your organization to get this Volunteer of the Year award. So I think that's a great plan, and I'm really behind that. I think that would be really powerful for these people.
No, I hear you. As a person who partakes in social media blasting, right? There's a difference when a government office validates, right, or shares or reposts, right? And then there's different tiers of that, right? Like, if we had, like I said, if we had the handle and a photo, and then the social media team blasts it out. But then if we had that big group photo, then maybe that part of the collateral is in the newsletters, like, hey, here's 2026, there was 50, here are the organizations. So like, there's different types of way to, you have the asset to split it up amongst different feeds. I think there's,
Well, I like that. Is that feasible for the social media team? Like, is that something that if we ask that could be implemented? Okay, thank you.
okay, so we'll when the motion is created, I think, take a look at social media recognition, or recognition via social feeds. something like that.
Is that just only social media, or are we gonna update the website as well? Is that like two different entities that control that, or is it still the social media team?
So it's the same group. My recommendation, though, would be to simplify the website and just provide commission and volunteer recognition program information, but provide the most updated recipients through social media, if the commission agrees.
Yeah, because correct me wrong, I think there's like a historical page, because my name pops up all the time when I look up there, and everyone that won that year, you know, from the guy that cleaned up duck poop to the guy that cleaned up graffiti, you know, I don't know if that still updates, but that was just my questions. That way it's like fluid, like you said, so you're on Instagram or the website or Facebook, it's all recognized as one, so that's just my question.
Sounds great, thanks.
Commissioner Uribe.
Is it duck poop or is it geese poop? I feel like a lot more beyond geese poop. Sorry, that wasn't my question, but it popped in my head. Yeah, I hope you guys are watching at home. Thinking about the nominations and trying to get more nominations, there's a recommendation that I have, because I'm always shouting out Learning and Landscape program. I'm never going to be able to say, hey, so-and-so deserves recognition at the Learning Landscape program for 2026, because I'm, not involved as much as you guys are with the parks or those team leads and stuff like that. So is it possible that that can be if it's already happens, then I am very sorry for missing that, where we ask L&L, those individuals towards the end of their 10-week to say, hey, can you throw on us a nomination, even if it might be something that we won't look at name-wise till the end of the year or whenever that ceremony is at. Because 10 weeks is happening now, if I'm not mistaken, for the Learning Landscape program, or application might have ended soon, recent to start this 10-week, but it would be cool to get nominations from the programs that the Parks Department has.
Yeah, we can certainly do that. We have our managers here that I think can talk with their staff to support that. I also think that the new vision for 916 Day, since we're going to be celebrating it all year long and have an opportunity to connect with volunteers throughout the entire year, will be a really great opportunity to identify more of those volunteers every month on a regular basis.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then, personally, in 2018, there was that delineation between volunteer and those who help out YPSI via LNL and Primetime Teen. Like, they get recognized by the department through the department mechanisms, and this is like more of the, hey, these are literal volunteers who have zero ties to the city in a sense. Like, if they're a former LNL person, then that meant they went through the department. So, like I said, when it was first created, that was the delineation. Like, staff and the quasi-staff, like lifeguards and stuff like that, they get recognized in their appropriate forums. This is general public, in a sense. So I hear you, yeah, those teens, those youth, those young people are awesome. But that's like, to me, that's like, oh, that's kind of double dipping, right? Like, the department's, but because they help us out in 916, that could, like I said, or like what the director said, that's more of an appropriate forum for said recognition. So I don't want to rain on anyone's parade, but back in 18, that was the delineation of whom gets the volunteer recognition certificate. Director.
I would also use staff as a resource now that we've really ramped up the volunteer program. I don't know if you all have seen the new trailer out in the parks. I can't share my screen with you, but it's pretty incredible. It's a YPC VIP trailer. You might see it out at some of the Rose Garden pruning events. But we have a really strong and growing volunteer program. And so staff can probably recommend some volunteers to you as well. We have some pretty regular volunteers that are showing up to a lot of the events. So use staff as a resource, right? If you want to kind of pick their brains a little bit and see who's been consistently showing up to some of these events too, that might be a good resource for you. And
maybe Commissioner Uribe, maybe the flip side is, who are we not recognizing? maybe, I know those three categories are pretty robust, but are we missing anything in said recognition? So I would pose it back to you in the spirit of crosstalk, like,
I think when it comes to some of these awards, like it's great that we go into our communities and we recognize individuals that are great in volunteerism, our youth and stuff like that. I feel like possibly my recommendation for the future of any award coming from a commission that involves staff time, that involves someone's energy, also is given to those who might bring more energy specifically to either the programs that are within YPSI. And I think that's why I was like, oh, we're already, if staff's already recognizing L&L, can commission then elevate this to the next level? Because like, oh, within L&L, I received the #1 crew leader for this cohort in this 10-week, but the commission recognized me for the 2025. So now from two different levels, we're saying to this crew leader or to L&L is that, hey, we're emphasizing our love for parks and the programs that we're enforcing. So I think we as setting for the future of whatever awards come out of this commission, we can elevate that to another level, because we shouldn't just be another set of awards that we're like, let's get out and obviously if we can definitely recognize those who are kind of missed. I think that's one thing where as leaders in the commission, we kind of like, hey, we have an eye on this, but we also have an eye on this other part of the community. Like when we recognize Del Paso, Del Paso Neighborhood Association, I mean, their work in the community and the work around community spaces, like that's big to parks, but how do we continue to say, hey, folks are being recognized by going out there and being at their parks? How can I get recognized?
thank you, Commissioner Uribe. Commissioner King?
On that point, I like the thought of creating maybe like a staff recognition award. We constantly are saying thank you to our staff members within the YPSI department. I don't know if that falls under our umbrella, but it would be nice to be able to highlight stories where a staff member, a group of staff members like L&L went above and beyond to help us with an agenda item or a event like 916 Day. And so I think that would be a great separate but also equal award that we could give out, right? Maybe not a volunteer, because they're not technically volunteers, but they are going above and beyond to help the commission in some way. And so maybe that could be like a group decision where we vote on something to recognize that group of people, or certain people that we like within the commission.
Present staff not included. So.
Yeah, none of y'all, no.
And like I said, I've had the fortune to see how staff presentations have ebbed and flowed in the amount of content. And like I said just a couple minutes ago, there are reports we get yearly on certain months, right? Maybe we can ask staff to, in said staff report, then highlight one or two staff members so that they too can come on a Thursday night. I don't know if we embed it into this potential motion, but maybe that is the recommendation just globally, since we're having crosstalk conversations. But hey, maybe that's one more bullet point in that yearly, like when L&L comes, right? That yearly report we get towards the middle of the year, maybe a couple of students. And yes, it's nighttime, and maybe they literally are working that night. So I know there could be there could be a there. Hey, in said report, who are those who just need that extra uplift, and we can uplift them here too, so. Okay, Commissioner King, you say any comments?
Can we put a motion on, or create an agenda item to further this discussion of the staff recognition award at another meeting when we have more members?
Okay.
Or do we need to continue the conversation?
I would like to create a motion that the six of us here that gives direction, but is also fluid to provide more direction, right? Like I said, can staff look at social media recognition mechanisms, right? So it's not defined, other than we're recognizing the category to look at, and there can still be discussions going forward. So I want it to be one, to provide direction, but in said direction, that there still could be conversation to be had. It's not, we don't have to postpone it to a future meeting, because these are always going to be continual conversations anyways. It's just, let's give them a nice global set. And then in our monthly meetings, hey, it's like, hey, how is this item, trending up? So, and then that might be the pathway in 2026 with the chair and vice chair too, to keep on this item in January. So that's my attempt. And if that's not what you all want, let's, because we don't have that many items tonight, so we have plenty of time to talk mechanisms of the motion that we are going to present in a second. But seeing no names up here, and like I said, some of us are public servants and who work for offices and have to write staff reports our own way, what would be the best way to make a recommendation? Like I said, there's some bullet points here that I've heard in the conversation. Hey, let's take a look at the nomination form. Who are we might be also recognizing? Hey, social media, categories, the recommendation of what best month, time, resources. So those are some of the global bullet points. Have I missed any in our discussion? And I think we may have addressed most of Victoria's bullet points. Is there anything we're missing from there? I know we talked about mechanisms. We talked about batch versus fluid. Director Beecham.
We can also, based on your recommendation tonight, we can bring back, taking into consideration all of your ideas and recommendations, bring back a proposal for you at our next meeting to consider, and then move that forward when you have more of your members here as well. In regards to the staff recognition piece, we can also add that to the follow-up log and bring that as a separate item if that's something you want to further discuss.
So what you said to bring it back next month? Motion to bring it back next month to,
So share what your vision is, make a recommendation for the component you'd like included. We can pull that together as a proposed program and bring it back to you next month. We'll need to know what it is, though.
Can it be separate motions, or does it have to be one jumbled up motion?
well, we're providing direction, tonight's motion is to provide direction to staff, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. In providing staff, it could be multiple sentences.
Okay,
I would think.
Yes.
all right.
Okay.
Well, what's easiest for staff? All in one? Perfect.
It kind of seems that the recommendation is to kind of revamp the awards.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I think it sounds like our recommendation, based on the discussion, is to revamp the awards and maybe give staff the ability to be like, yeah, let's go take this and figure out where the future of this goes, because really it's just about sticking to what the definition of those awards are. But if I got into the nitty gritty, I'd be like, let's just get different names, because community enrichment sounds not so much like fun to receive an award on. That's a personal opinion, so no offense to that. Whoever received the community enrichment award, they deserve it, but I mean, I don't know, that's the little nitty gritty thing.
Okay, Ron Swanson.
Well, no, we thought about this in the ad hoc back in
Yeah.
2018. What does community enrichment mean in
Yeah.
getting an award or being recognized for community enrichment? Like I said, we know what the department defines community enrichment, and that's like community
Yeah.
centers. But my first awardee that year was the Franklin Business District, because they do so much along Franklin. To me, that was enriching the community. So I flipped the words in my head. But like I said, that was just me personally.
Right.
But I then shared that sentiment to the commissioner. So I do like the sentence you're creating. I'm going to try to tap your public service staff member writing ability to, I have, right now the sentence I have, since we're doing a shared Google Doc, to bring this item next month, comma, in revamping the awards, comma, that's where I'm kind of stuck. I have the bullet points here, but if someone is a better wordsmith than I, in the following commas.
To move it up to the front of the agenda for the meeting, is that one important? Okay.
Agenda placement. Placement, okay. Good. Any recommendation? Like I said, this is crosstalk. We can talk here fluidly here. And I don't want to suppose. Okay. To bring this item, so if we're crafting a motion, to bring this item next month in revamping the volunteer recognition, to look at categories of best month nomination categories, social media recognition, the nomination form, who we're not recognizing, agenda placement, any other items to look at in said revamping? And then going to clerk's office and attorney's office in a motion like that, is that good enough to move forward to staff? Okay. All right, I think that.
Second.
Okay. I motion,
Clear as mud.
yeah, it's clear as mud.
No, we get it.
Because we're providing staff direction.
We got
So
it.
therefore, to bring it
For
next
city
month,
parks mud.
comma, in reforming the volunteer program, comma, look at these categories, comma, and we'll,
What he said.
yeah. That's my motion, seconded by Commissioner Uribe.
Second, exclamation point.
Excellent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any noes? Hearing none. Any abstentions? No. Motion passes unanimous. Thank you, everybody. One thing that when I have sat in this chair is the crosstalk. Sometimes we talk at each other, not with each other. And I'm glad to see this item put on the agenda to have crosstalk. I mean, that's our strengths. We don't get to do that often. And then to see the staff report that Shannon and I made back in 2018 come back to life, and then serendipitously, I'm sitting here again in this chair talking about this program. But I think we all saw in December the value add everybody having here. So to make it more efficient, fluid, better going forward, and not all of us will be here forever, to leave it in good hands for our counterparts in the future. So thank you very much. With that, we'll go to the next discussion item, item number 5. It is our January standing item. It is the selection of the chair and vice chair for calendar 2026. Again, it is a big responsibility, huge responsibility to lead the commission, and having to create items in your year that we may be talking about a few years later, right? That is one of the best things about, as a person who has previously held one of these positions, it is an awesome responsibility to be a part of a very dynamic commission for the city of Sacramento. So this is an item I have got to see many, many times, and to have the pleasure of seeing the next set of leadership and then supporting said leadership with the department. So I would like to open up first nominations for vice chair on this item. Do we have any nominations? I know I can go, but Commissioner Uribe.
I just have a question.
Sure.
The term is for a year? So
Calendar.
Calendar year, so are the individuals who held the positions before, have they expressed interest, knowing that we're kind of like on skeleton bones there?
Yes, there is sentiment from, yes.
Groovy, okay, continue.
Okay, any other questions? Yeah, no, this is actually the best time to ask questions. You know, I didn't get a chance to, and I knew I wrote it down in the last item, I know I've been joking that I've been here for a long time, but the fact that other commissioners, they just completed 1 year, right? We've had commissioners that have completed multiple years, and we have commissioners that this is their second meeting, right? And we're gonna have a commissioner in the next couple months, it's gonna be their first. And so some of these items that you may not know the ebb and flow of the commission without going through it with at least a year, a cycle, and you may not even be fully ready to go in after a year or so. So yeah, take any opportunity to ask questions, what it does indeed take to do some of this stuff. And like I said, we've had so many commissioners turn over all these seats that some of these items are not top of mind either, right? Like, of course, there's gonna be questions about the volunteer recognitions. I was there day one, some of you, day one was December, right? So it's like, so these items, you know, please ask these questions here. We're supposed to talk to each other. But yes, long-winded answer is the chair has expressed feelings, but we're not at that part yet. And then I believe the clerk's office may have to read some names, or there's some housekeeping with the clerk's office, so.
You? Okay. So I will just read a script so we're clear and we're all on the same page here. So good evening, my name is Rosanna Montesinos. I am from the city clerk's office. And all the detailed information was in your staff report, but I have a few important reminders regarding the election of officers. We will hear nominations and vote for chair first, then followed by vice chair. The newly elected chair and vice chair will begin their terms at the next regular meeting, which is Tuesday, February 5th. Commissioners may nominate another commissioner or themselves. Please remember that a commissioner may serve for no more than 2 calendar years in either position. As such, Commissioner Flores and Vasquez are ineligible to serve as chair, and Commissioner Gaines is ineligible to serve as vice chair. If you wish to make a nomination, please add your name to the speaker queue, and we will go from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Clerk's Office, and I'm taking privilege as the interim chair to go with vice chair first. Are there any questions before we get nominating the vice chair? Seeing none. Okay, now it is, and if we have, okay, but before we nominate, if there are multiple nominations, we can handle that, right? First motion, and if that motion passes, even though there might be multiple nominations, the first one wins. So before I open up the floor on that, just for process sake, right? Because we've had that in previous years, and it doesn't. I would like, thanks for all the housekeeping. I would like to nominate for vice chair Commissioner Robbins. I know he's going into his 4th year serving as a commissioner for District 3. I know he is really involved in his community. He has produced, created, supported many events within District 3 and the northern area at large. I know he's been critical to 916 marketing. He's done a lot in his 3 years. I think it would be appropriate to nominate him as vice chair in 2026. So I would like to make a motion, and hopefully I hear a second.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Uribe. Commissioner Laver, you had a comment? No? Okay. Any discussion? Seeing none, all right, let's okay. I can take a vote on that part. Okay, let's take a vote on the vice chair. All right, all those in favor for Robbie Robbins to become the vice chair in 2026, say aye.
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 Oppose? Hearing none, abstentions, none. Congratulations, Robbie.
And we just,
And now, for the,
Can I
yes.
say a few words real quick?
we just need to have a motion that you're confirming that you accept.
Yes, I accept.
So it's on the
And,
record.
I just gotta say, I've nominated Commissioner Boone last year, and she's an amazing individual, and I would not be taking the seat if she didn't give me her blessing on this before we move forward on that. If she's anything like the leader she is, she's gonna be an amazing mother, so I hope you're watching at home. We're proud of you. We can't wait to meet the little one. Just amazing from a young kid that grew up in the streets of Gardenland, El Paso Heights, and Northgate that, as Biggie Smalls would say, that amount to nothing, as a lot of teachers would say. So thank you, and as Kanye West would say, everything I'm not, maybe everything I am. So thank you for your guys' nomination, and I look forward to being a true leader, and I hope I make everybody proud.
And because Chair Gaines couldn't be here tonight, she did send a note, should this pass. She says, I'm so sad I couldn't be there tonight to vote for Robbie as vice chair of the commission. Robbie loves his community, and it shows not just in his words, but in his actions. He is not afraid to do the hard work, ask challenging questions, and while not losing his joy and passion for the people that he serves. I'm so grateful for you, Robbie, and I can't wait to see all that you accomplish in 2026. 4 letters, 1 word. Vice. Okay. All right. And now let us now pick the chair for 2026. Again, like I said, Chair Gaines couldn't be here tonight, but she has expressed to continue on as a second term for chair. Yes.
I just want to clarify, I said a motion, I didn't mean a motion, we just had to have official acceptance. So just to clarify for the record.
And I motion for Chair Gaines to continue serve in his second term in 2026 as chair. And she does express acceptance.
Seconded.
seconded by Commissioner King. Any discussion? No? With that, all those in favor for Chair Gaines to be chair in 2026?
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstentions? Congratulations to Chair Gaines in year 2 of being our chair. It's a tough seat to sit in. Okay. No, she doesn't have an acceptance speech. No, she wanted to make sure she recognized Robbie. And so we'll just leave it. Maybe she'll talk next time. And with that, we'll go to the next item, department highlights. That's you.
Yeah, that is me. Thank you, Chair.
It's the loophole.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. So our Rangers in December had 887 calls for service and 83 rapid response calls. Lots happening already in the new year with our workforce development team. Make sure you save the date for our Youth Resource and Employment Fair coming up on Saturday, March 7th from 9:30 to noon. On-site registration will begin that day at 9:15, and that's for youth ages 13 to 24. We'll have more information available soon. Our Landscape and Learning Program has interviews currently being conducted this week for spring hiring. We'll be hiring 55 youth for over 360 applicants. We have 55 spots. That's also for ages 13 to 17. Very high demand for that program. Our primetime teen and junior rec aid stipend programs have also fully filled their seats for the winter season. Primetime teen at Oak Park Community Center and North Natomas kicked off this week, and our junior rec aid program starts later this month at George Sim Community Center. And our Sacramento Youth Commission will be holding its first business meeting of the year on Monday, February 2nd, beginning at 5:30. Happy to share that we have 17 of 19 seats filled, which is very exciting. We have 2 vacancies in District 5 and District 7. So if you'd like to help us recruit some youth for those seats, that would be wonderful. And Summer at City Hall will be opening applications for the upcoming 2026 cohort in early March. Also more information to come there. Our Expanded Learning Team, 4th R, has its Family Boogie and Glow Dance Party coming up on January 30th from 6:30 to 8:30. This event is free for 4th R families. Pre-registration is required, and more information is available at 4th R sites. For our Older Adult Services Program, the RRR program is accepting enrollment at all 3 of our locations, and we do have scholarships available. You can find information on our website or at the Hart Senior Center. Also a reminder that we have our Youth Program Scholarship Fund, and 2026 applications are open. We received a significant source of funding through Measure L. So we have a great amount of funding to be able to give to youth for this year, but a reminder that you do have to reapply for the fund for 2026. So if you're a recipient of funds in 2025, you have to reapply for 2026. That's for youth ages 0 to 24 and families with financial need. They will provide them access to quality recreation programs that the EFC is providing. We are also, already that time of year, for our aquatics and camp programs to be recruiting for summer positions. We are kicked off a recruitment already this year, and we're going to be visiting some of our scheduled visits at high schools and many community events across council districts. We have lifeguard classes that are currently open for registration. We have 9 classes scheduled throughout the city this spring, and we will be offering scholarships as we usually do. Those applications open on January 20th. Our park planning team has several projects underway, as they usually do. Just last weekend, they celebrated a ribbon cutting at Lewis Park with the completion of, don't want to steal your thunder? Sure, wait. The pickleball courts and the playground replacement in District 7. Shout out to Jason and his team. He got his, I said, literal flowers, as Joe would say. And the community was very appreciative of his time, of all the time and the effort that Jason and his team put into that project. We also have, I mentioned earlier, annual rose pruning at the McKinley Rose Garden. That's going to be happening this month, January, every Wednesday and Saturday from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. So there are a handful of sessions you can still attend. We actually hosted our leadership team meeting out there on Wednesday, and our team got to go prunes and roses. It's very therapeutic for those of you who'd like to get out there and enjoy the nice sunshine. We welcome you to attend. And those are all my updates. Thank you.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
And just for purposes of the record, we had no public speakers for items 4 or 5.
Thank you. Again, I ask for grace and forgiveness for that. Yes. Any questions for Director Beecham? All right, seeing none, we'll go to commissioner comments, ideas, questions. Not that you stole my thunder or anything there, Director, but, here's a quick group picture of the pickleball courts this past Saturday at Lewis Park. Like I said, or like the director said, Jason was the VIP there. He received his literal flowers, but then just all the thank yous that through him was sent to YPCE, and then the council member was very appreciative of all of YPCE staff. So I just wanted to send that sentiment over. Commissioner Laver.
Thank you, everybody. I just want to say thank you. Earlier today, I was on a phone call with the city staff, and I was appreciative of efforts that you guys make and grateful for your efforts. Excuse me. And also, Saturday, I went to an event at McKinley Park. There was a tree planting event with that new trailer that I saw, and it was pretty cool looking. And I have other events coming up at Southside Park where we're recruiting volunteers to help out in early February. There's a group that called us up. And I think Dennis will be there too. But that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Laver. Vice Chair Robbins.
Thank you, Chair. I just gotta say, thank you, Karina Telemontes, for having the Santa Ana Thomas. And I think we almost hit every park in D3. It was a lot. The Grinch got arrested, I think, 40 times on a 3-day basis. So thank you to SAC PD for making that happen. But I just had to announce that we have our tree planting event, first of the year, at Jefferson Park this Saturday. Then we'll have Garland Park on February 25th. But this Saturday, I hope to see you guys out there to see that fancy new trailer as well. So yeah, looking forward to see everyone out there. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Vice Chair. Commissioner King.
Yes, thank you, everybody. Yes, I am excited to talk a little bit about what things that happened in December. It feels like it was so long ago, but D5 had a wonderful event, the Santa Parade, hosted by Councilmember Maple, and overall it went really great. We had amazing volunteers at each of the parks and locations that the stop had. I was also a captain at one of the parks, and we had a great event. It was Posada, where it was a very heritage-based event, and it was really, really fun. We had a great turnout. So overall, thank you to all the volunteers and everybody who made that event happen. And then, yes, looking forward, we have a really exciting 2026, and I look forward to all the events, and I'm going to attend as many as possible, so everybody let me know. Yeah, I'll have more information to come.
All right, thank you, Commissioner King. Commissioner Langer.
Still getting used to this system. So just wanted to thank everybody for your patience with me as I onboarded. It's really been a steep learning curve, but all things very, very neat. And so thank you all for your work and your collegiality as I'm getting onboarded. We are having our first D1 tree planting on January 31st. So I'm still working on details for that and coordinating with city staff, but very much looking forward to my first official role in my official capacity, and appreciate any words of wisdom you might have to share along the way. But thank you to staff. They've been absolutely awesome in getting all the resources that I need and just getting me up to speed. So thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
Commissioner, what park is that going to be at?
Swainson's Hawk Park, yes.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Langer. See no more comments. Clerk's office, is there any public comments on matters not on the agenda?
Thank you, Chair. We have no public comments for matters not on the agenda.
Okay, so before we adjourn tonight, again, I express my deep gratitude for allowing me to sit in this chair. Like I said, it's an awesome responsibility to do so and to represent you all now we'll have, hopefully I don't have to do it again because we have great leadership, but so thank you. It's always an honor and privilege, and I don't take that for granted. So with that, we'll see you next month. Thank you very much.